Going to show you how I shot this photo using the Godox AD200. What's going on YouTube? My name is Mo and I'm a car photographer from Bahrain. If it's your first time around my channel and you would like to learn all about car photography, then subscribe now so you don't miss out on all the cool stuff that I create every week. And as I always do, I'd like to hear from you first. What do you use to light up your cars? What kind of strobe flashes, or maybe just an LED that you light up the car with? I'd like to know. Leave me a comment in the comment section below. Alright, so the rumor has it, I'm giving away the Godox AD200 kit. Check out the details in the description below. Alright, so let's talk briefly about the features of the Godox AD200. Now they call it a pocket flash. It's a little bit bigger than what an ordinary pocket is. However, it's smaller than my Profoto B1, but that is not a comparison really, because this is really small and it's about 200 watts, while my Profoto yields about 500 watts. Now this little fella here would support TTL and high-speed sync shooting. Now the cool thing about this flash, it has a large capacity battery, and according to them it gets you up to 500 flashes on full power. So that's pretty amazing. Now as in for the trigger, I used the same trigger that I had for my Godox AD360 and it just works. So if you already have a Godox lighting system, you don't have to invest in another trigger. Now as far as modifiers goes, I stripped down my AD360 and I got this reflector off of it and it fit in perfectly. Alright, so enough of this. Let me show you the shots that I've taken and how I actually shot them. Alright, so the first thing on the list is how am I going to position the car and where am I going to position the camera. Now that space was a bit limited because it was too narrow. There were a lot of objects around the car and around the garage, and I decided to finally position the car as you see it. And then of course decide on the focal length, the overall exposure. What kind of f-stop aperture am I going to use? What is the shutter speed and the ISO that will play a big role in the overall exposure. Alright, so once that's done, I'll move into shooting. And the first shot that I usually do is the base shot, which includes the ambient shot. Alright, so once I capture something that I like, I'll move into the strobe shot. Now I've asked the guys at the garage to turn off all the lights, all the ambient lights around the car, so that will aid me to see how the strobes are doing and not as any issue within the shooting, although there is a reflection at the back that we couldn't get rid of because we didn't know where the lights were. Alright, so let me explain to you how I shoot multiple shots with just one strobe and how I position that. Now let's move to this photo over here. So the strobe or the flash was on a stand somewhere about 1.5 meters away from the car, maybe a little bit more. It was about 2.5 meters high, angled down on the car. So I snap a photo, head to the strobe or flash, and of course if you have an assistant that will make things easier, but in this scenario I went back to the flash, I moved a step ahead, shot another one, went to the flashback again, shot another one, and so on forth. Now once I was done from the side of the car, it was time to let the back of the car, and I've used this shot. So again, I positioned the strobe on the left side of the car, high up, shot this, and moved to the next one. And then I took multiple shots of the rear lights or the brake lights just to make sure I got it right. And then I lowered the flash down and I took some shots of the back wheel and the front wheel. Now as you move the strobe, it's worth to know that you try your best not to move closer to the car or further away from the car so you don't affect the overall exposure of the shot. Otherwise you would notice some of the shots are brighter than the others and then you have to adjust that manually. Now I've applied a bit of basic adjustments to these photos over here. Now if I reset this, it looked like that. Now it was a bit underexposed. And I have to say that I did not put the flash to the maximum. I think I was about, what, 1/18 of the power. So I went ahead and I added a 1.5 stop of exposure, and I just adjusted the profile or lens correction, and then I copied that correction and I applied it to everything. And you would want to apply it to all the images so you don't have a weird looking layer in Photoshop. All right, enough of Lightroom. Let me show you how it was done in Photoshop. So pretty easy and straightforward, kind of, in Photoshop. And the way I did that is I actually stacked all the layers that I've selected within Lightroom, and then I've set their blending modes to lighten, and I applied a mask on each to remove certain parts of the car that I didn't like. Things like reflections or flares or anything that I didn't like within that layer was moved by masking them away. All right, so let me walk you quickly through the layers, and starting up with the lower layer. This is the back exposure of the car, and like I said, I would apply a mask to mask out the parts that I really didn't want to appear within the picture. And then on top of it, one of the side exposures. Now if I turn off the mask, you'd see that there is a bit of the strobe reflection over here, which I had to mask out, and that would usually be compensated from other layers. So if I enable the one above, as you can see, I've used this area of this layer to cover up for the thing that I masked out within these layers. I don't know if that makes any sense. I did the same with the one above. I stacked that layer on top, set it to lighten, and of course I've masked out these hot spots or the reflection of the flash over here. All right, so then I added the wheels exposures, the front and the back wheel that we took separately. And then I added the back light or the tail light. And again, if I would hide the mask, you would see how it looked before. Yeah, with the mask, I only kept this part. I then created a stamp visible layer of all the layers below it and applied a smart filter. And that was basically a camera raw filter in which I added a bit of clarity. I've decreased a bit of the saturation, and I've modified the temperature of the white balance bit to make it look cooler. So the next thing I did was just to clean up the photo, and I just created layers with, with our clone stamp tool. I've used multiple tools to basically clean up the photo. And then I thought, it looked a bit dull. I'm missing something over here. So what I did is basically I added the base exposure that we spoke about earlier, and yes, I did not use it as a base exposure. However, I brought in the details that I really wanted to see in the picture. And then I fixed a bit of the shadow over here. This is the before, this is the after, and I fixed the mirrors shadow. It just looked like it was cut off. I added a channel mixer to desaturate the image overall. I desaturated the ground furthermore. I added a curve to darken a bit of the surrounding and applied a mask to remove the car from it. I then added a color lookup table to basically color grade the shot. And that's it, I was done with Photoshop. Then I took it back to Lightroom for the final adjustments, in which I've added a bit of white over here and a bit of more clarity. Then I've sharpened the photo. So that was pretty much it, YouTube. Now this is very tricky, and what matters is you get the strobe shots really right. And that's pretty much it. I hope that was helpful. Now if you have any question, please leave me a comment in the comment section below. I'll try my best to answer it for you. Back to the contest. Don't forget to check out the link in the description below. Good luck to everyone, and I'll see you at the next video.